If you want your heart to feel safer tomorrow morning, do not think first about breakfast. Think about the first minute after your eyes open. Because for millions of adults over 60, that first minute is the real stress test. Not the walk to the kitchen, not the coffee, not the stairs, the first minute. And within about 90 seconds, you can make that minute much gentler on your heart and blood vessels. You can reduce a sharp hormonal surge, support smoother circulation, and stand up with less strain. But there is one hidden detail that makes this routine fail for more people than you think. If you miss that detail, you may do the whole routine and still feel dizzy, weak, shaky, or unsettled. So stay with me, because the routine itself is simple. The reason it works is what most people never learn. And the hidden detail, especially if you take blood pressure medicine, can change the whole story. Let me start with the result we want. You wake up. You do not spring out of bed. You breathe first. You drink water. You sit gradually. You move your ankles. Then you stand slowly. Your pulse stays calmer. Your head feels clearer. Your first steps feel steady. No sudden rush in the chest. No wave of dizziness. No feeling that your body has been pushed into the day before it is ready. That is the target. And listen, this is not superstition. This is not one of those fancy morning hacks that sound clever and do nothing. This is cardiology, because your body at 6 a.m. is not the same body at noon. Your hormones are different. Your hydration is different. Your blood pressure behavior is different. And your blood vessels, especially after 60, do not adjust as quickly as they once did. I have seen this pattern again and again in my clinic. A man wakes up, feels mostly normal, throws the blanket aside, stands fast, and suddenly the room feels wrong. The floor shifts, the heartbeat changes, there is pressure in the neck or heaviness in the chest, or a strange sense of weakness. Sometimes it passes in seconds, sometimes it lingers long enough to frighten people. And sometimes in a vulnerable person, that rough transition is exactly the wrong push, at exactly the wrong time. Now I want to be careful here. I am not saying every quick rise causes a heart event. That would be lazy medicine. I am saying the morning creates a cluster of conditions that make sudden strain more dangerous, especially in older adults, especially in people with stiff arteries, plaque, dehydration, rhythm problems, or blood pressure issues. And the part most people miss is this: the danger does not come from one thing. It comes from the stack. One stressor may be manageable. Several at once can overwhelm the margin of safety. So let us break down that stack. The first layer begins before you even move. The moment you wake, your body does not gently drift into the day. It activates. Cortisol rises. Adrenaline rises. Your nervous system shifts into alert mode. That is normal. By the way, you need that shift. Without it, you will stay groggy, slow, and foggy. Morning hormones are part of the system that gets you functional. But there is a trade-off. That same hormone wave can tighten blood vessels, increase heart rate, and push blood pressure upward. If your arteries are flexible, the body absorbs that rise better. If your arteries are stiff, narrowed, or already under stress, the same rise hits harder. Think of a new garden hose. It bends, it adjusts. Pressure moves through it smoothly. Now think of an old hose, stiff and cracked. Every surge is rougher. Every pressure change matters more. Your blood vessels can behave the same way. That is only the first layer. The second layer is dehydration. Not severe dehydration usually, a quieter version. During sleep, you lose water through breathing, urine, and sweat. Some people lose more if the room is warm. Some lose more if they breathe through the mouth. Some lose more if they took certain medications the night before. So by morning, your circulation is often a little less forgiving. The blood can become relatively more concentrated. Flow can be a bit less smooth. And when that happens in an older cardiovascular system, the heart has less room for error. This is one reason we cardiologists pay close attention to the early morning hours. A notable share of serious cardiovascular events happens in that window, not because morning is cursed, because morning is a transition, and transitions expose weakness. Now here comes the mistake I want you to picture clearly. You wake up, maybe your bladder is full, maybe the phone buzzes, maybe your mind jumps straight into the day, and before your body has stabilized, you go from flat to upright very quickly. That fast change is what I call the snap rise. For some it is 10 seconds, for some 20, for some 30. The point is the same. The rise happens too fast for the body to adapt smoothly. The moment you sit or stand suddenly, gravity pulls blood downward. A younger body answers quickly. The vessels tighten, the pulse adjusts, the brain still gets enough flow, pressure remains more stable. After 60, those reflexes often slow, not dramatically, sometimes just enough. And in medicine, just enough is often where problems begin. Blood pressure can dip for a moment. The brain senses less flow. The heart tries to compensate. Then the body overcorrects. And that rapid swing, drop then push, is exactly the kind of instability an older cardiovascular system dislikes. Listen, this part confuses many people. They think the issue is only low blood pressure. Actually, no. That is only one piece. The bigger issue is instability. A dip followed by a sharp correction creates a hemodynamic swing. Flow, pressure, vessel tone, and heart workload are changing too abruptly. Abrupt change is the enemy of vulnerable arteries, especially if stress hormones are already high, especially if hydration is already low, especially if there is already plaque inside the vessels. Now pause there for a moment, because this is where many men tell me, "But Dr. Sofia, I have always jumped out of bed." I know. You may have done it for years. What worked at 40 may not work at 68. What felt harmless at 35 may carry a higher cost at 72. That is not weakness. That is aging physiology. And physiology does not care about pride. It responds to mechanics. Here is another way to picture it. Imagine an airport runway in heavy morning fog. Planes can still take off, but takeoff needs more care, not less. More sequence, more patience, more control. That is what your heart needs in the first minute after waking. Not panic, not speed, control. And this is why the 90-second protection routine matters. It does not magically repair arteries. It does not erase heart disease. It does not replace proper medical care. What it does is simple and powerful. It smooths the transition. It gives your nervous system time. It gives your circulation time. It gives your heart a softer runway. So let us go through it carefully. Step 1 starts before you move at all. The moment you realize you are awake, stay where you are. Do not reach for the phone immediately. Do not twist fast. Do not throw your legs out of bed. Stay still and take 3 slow, deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Gentle, full, unhurried. 3 deliberate cycles. Why does that help? Because your breathing is one of the fastest ways to influence your autonomic nervous system. You cannot order your cortisol to drop on command. You cannot tell your arteries to relax by force, but you can slow your breath. And slow breathing sends a calming signal into the system. It nudges you away from pure fight or flight. It encourages a little more parasympathetic control. That means less internal alarm, less sudden acceleration. Small signals at the correct moment can change the whole tone of a transition. Think about how a driver treats black ice. The smart driver does not jerk the wheel. He smooths the inputs. Your breath is the first smooth input of the morning. I want you to test this personally. Tomorrow morning before moving, take those 3 breaths and notice whether your body feels startled or settled. For some of you, the difference will be subtle. For others, surprisingly obvious. Protection does not always feel dramatic. Often, it feels like less chaos, less pounding, less inner noise. That is step 1. And let me ask you something here. When you wake up, are you a jump-up person or a stay-still person? Write one word in the comments. Jump or still. I read those patterns closely because they tell me a lot about morning habits. Now step 2. Before your feet touch the floor, drink a glass of room temperature water. Keep it by the bed if you need to. No special brand, no powder, no trendy formula, just water. Remember what we said earlier. Overnight you lose fluid. That does not mean your blood turns to syrup. Let us stay medically honest. But your circulation may start the morning less supported than it was the night before. Lower fluid reserve means less buffer, and less buffer means the cardiovascular system has to work harder during sudden changes. A glass of water supports blood volume. It gives the circulation a better starting point. It softens one piece of the morning stress stack. The reason I say room temperature is practical. Very cold water can feel jarring first thing. We do not want a jolt. We want a smooth rise. Some of you right now are thinking, Dr. Sofia, one glass of water cannot be that important. Fair question. Preventive medicine is often built on undramatic things. One glass is not about heroics. It is about removing one avoidable stressor. When you stack several small protective choices together, the effect becomes meaningful. That is how real prevention usually works. Not one giant intervention, a sequence of modest decisions, each one reducing strain. A small reality check. If you have heart failure, kidney disease, or a fluid restriction from your doctor, your situation is different. Follow your own physician plan. For most people, a simple glass is reasonable. For some, fluid instructions must be personalized. That distinction matters. And by the way, if this is already helping, press like. That helps this video reach someone who wakes up dizzy and thinks it is just getting older. Now step 3. This is the part many people skip, and for many of them, it is the part that changes everything. After your 3 breaths, after your water, sit on the edge of the bed. Let your legs hang down for about 30 seconds. Do not rush that part, just sit. And while you sit there, make slow circles with your ankles. A few one way, a few the other. Then gently flex your feet. Why does that matter? Because your calf muscles are not just leg muscles. They are part of a return pump. When the calf muscles activate, they help move blood back upward toward the heart. This is sometimes called the muscle pump. Instead of letting gravity pull blood down all at once, you begin restoring return flow before the full rise. You give the system a rehearsal, a warm-up, a small practice run before the actual load. This is especially useful for people who say, I feel fine lying down but odd the moment I stand. Or, the room does not fully spin, but I feel unsteady. Those details matter because they tell us the transition itself may be the problem. Transitions can be improved. So let me put the full routine together clearly. Wake up and stay still. Take 3 slow breaths. Drink a glass of room temperature water. Sit on the edge of the bed for about 30 seconds. Move your ankles in slow circles, then stand up gradually. Not with a snap, not with a lunge, gradually. That is the 90-second protocol. Breathe, drink, sit, move, stand. 5 words. If you want this to become a real habit, keep the cue simple. Write those words on a card tonight. Put the water where you can reach it. Because behavior follows convenience more than motivation. Discipline is much easier when the environment helps you. Why does sitting on the edge help even before the ankle movement begins? Because position changes are not neutral. When you move from lying flat to sitting, your circulation has to redistribute. When you move from sitting to standing, it has to adapt again. Skip the middle step, and the body absorbs a larger adjustment all at once. Include the middle step and the body adapts in stages. The heart likes stages, the blood vessels like stages, your brain likes stages too. Brain blood flow does not enjoy abrupt drops. And listen, brain symptoms are often the first clue. People say, I do not think it is my heart. Maybe not directly. Maybe the first sign is in the head. A light wave of dizziness, a foggy sensation, a dim feeling behind the eyes. Those are not always dramatic warning signs, but they are useful feedback. They tell you the transition is rougher than it should be. If you get that signal, do not ignore it. It is your body asking for a slower sequence. Let me add a patient example here. A man in his late 60s wakes 2 or 3 times a night. When morning comes, he feels pressure to get up quickly, so he swings out of bed fast. On some mornings, he feels nothing unusual. On other mornings, there is a rush in the head and a strange weakness in the legs. He tells himself it is fatigue or age. Maybe it is partly those things, but often the bigger issue is speed of transition. Same body, same bed, different sequence, different outcome. That is why routine matters. Every morning is a repeated opportunity, and repeated opportunities shape long-term risk. Now, here is a question I want you to consider honestly. How many of you have ever felt briefly dizzy, then laughed it off? Not because it was funny, because it passed. If that has happened to you, write yes in the comments. When people see how common that pattern is, they stop dismissing it. Dismissal is often the first mistake. Let us add another layer. Morning does not stress only the blood pressure system. It can also affect clotting behavior and vessel tone. Platelet activity tends to be higher in the morning in many people. Stress hormones are climbing. Hydration is lower. Then we add a fast posture change on top of that. You are not simply getting out of bed, you are managing a coordinated cardiovascular transition. The body is not a switch, it is an orchestra. If one section comes in too early, the whole piece sounds wrong. Now, let me give your brain a moment to settle. Picture this. Tomorrow morning, your room is quiet. You open your eyes. Instead of rushing the day, you take control of the first minute. 3 breaths, a glass of water. Your feet do not rush to the floor. You sit. You circle the ankles. Then you stand, and the first steps feel cleaner. Not a miracle, a cleaner transition. Many people feel that difference within days. Usually it shows up as less wobble, less pounding, less sense of being pushed. That is success. Why do I keep using the word stack? Because cardiovascular risk is rarely one giant thing. Risk builds when several moderate stressors arrive together. A little dehydration, a little arterial stiffness, a little morning hormone surge, a fast rise to standing, a sleep-deprived night. None of those alone guarantees trouble. Together, they narrow your safety margin. That is why prevention often looks boring from the outside. It is not boring inside the body. If you wear a smartwatch or fitness watch, try a simple experiment. One morning, rush out of bed like usual. Another morning, use the full 90-second protocol. Compare how your heart rate behaves. What you measure, you respect, and what you respect, you are more likely to protect. Now, let me bring in the hidden detail I promised, because for a meaningful number of viewers, everything I have said so far is only part of the answer. If you take a diuretic for blood pressure, the routine may help but not fully solve the morning problem. A diuretic removes excess fluid. For many people, that is appropriate. We are not telling anyone to stop prescribed medicine. Do not stop blood pressure medication on your own. That can be dangerous. Always discuss medication changes with your physician. But diuretics have downstream effects. They can increase the loss of key minerals. One of the most important is magnesium. And magnesium matters to the heart far more than most people realize. It helps support electrical stability, normal rhythm, and how the muscle and nerves communicate properly. When magnesium runs low, the heart can become more irritable. You may feel fluttering, skipped beats, morning shakiness, or unexplained weakness. And because morning is already a transition zone, low magnesium can make that zone feel rougher. This is the hidden detail I wanted you to hear. Some people do the breathing, sip the water, sit, move the ankles, stand slowly, and still something feels off. Not because the routine is useless, because another layer is sitting underneath it. Medication-related mineral loss. Now, I need to be precise here. Not every diuretic user has low magnesium. Not every palpitation is caused by magnesium. Medicine requires nuance. But if you take a diuretic and often feel palpitations, cramps, weakness, or unusual morning instability, this question deserves attention. Has your magnesium been checked? Not guessed, checked. That is a very reasonable conversation to have with your doctor, especially if you also take several medications, sweat heavily, your diet is limited, or you have had episodes of irregular rhythm before. And please hear the next part carefully. Do not start random supplements just because magnesium was mentioned online. Even natural substances affect the body. If you have kidney disease, rhythm disorders, digestive issues, or multiple prescriptions, self-treating can create problems. The goal is not to replace one mistake with another. The goal is to ask the right question. If you have hypertension, diabetes, heart disease, kidney disease, or daily prescriptions, speak with your physician before making supplement changes. Right advice, wrong person, wrong timing can still go badly. Now, let us talk about what I call the survivor mistake. This is the point where many people say, I have stood up fast for years and nothing happened. Maybe so, but survival is not proof of safety. It only proves that up to now, your body has tolerated the strain. The body can tolerate poor habits for a long time. Then one day, its reserve is smaller. Maybe the arteries are stiffer, maybe the night was shorter, maybe the medication changed, maybe the rhythm is less stable. Suddenly, the same habit costs more. I would rather you use a repeatable routine than trust a lucky streak. Lucky streaks are not prevention. They are history. Tomorrow morning is not history. Tomorrow morning is live physiology. Some of you do not feel dizzy. You feel rushed. Your heart pounds when you stand. You are upright but not comfortable. That matters too. The protocol is not only for people who feel faint, it is also for people whose morning rise feels too abrupt, too forceful, too noisy inside the chest. That pounding sensation is feedback. Your body is telling you the transition is rough, and rough transitions deserve smoothing. People who wake during the night to urinate, this protocol is not only for morning. It can help any time you wake from sleep. The same rule applies. Do not go from deep sleep to full speed in one motion. The heart appreciates consistency. How long until this becomes automatic? Usually not long. A few days for some, a week or two for others. The secret is not willpower. It is setup, water by the bed, a visual reminder, a decision made the night before. Morning habits are won the night before more often than people think. And if you share a bed, tell your partner what you are doing. Good rhythms spread. Which step feels hardest for you right now? The breathing, the water, the sitting, or the ankle circles? Write just one word in the comments. I am curious which part people resist. And if you have someone older in your life, send this to them. Because the simple things are often the things people never hear explained. Let us close the loop. The hidden danger is not getting out of bed. The real issue is the combination. Morning cortisol and adrenaline rise, blood vessels tighten, hydration is lower, blood pressure behavior becomes less stable, blood shifts downward when you stand, older reflexes respond more slowly, the heart compensates. And in some people, medication-related magnesium loss makes the system even more vulnerable. That is the real picture. Not fear, not drama. A sequence of physiologic pressures landing at once. The answer is not to become afraid of mornings. The answer is to respect mornings. Respect the transition. Respect the first minute. So tomorrow morning, remember the phrase, breathe, drink, sit, move, stand. 3 breaths, 1 glass of room temperature water. About 30 seconds on the edge of the bed. Slow ankle circles. Then a gradual rise. And if you take diuretics, ask your doctor whether magnesium has been evaluated. That may be the missing piece. Not for everyone, but for some of you it will explain a lot. And there is one more thing. If your morning dizziness comes with chest pain, fainting, severe shortness of breath, weakness on one side, trouble speaking, or a new neurologic symptom, that needs urgent medical attention. Ordinary morning instability is one thing. Red flag symptoms are another. Know the difference. Use wisdom, not denial. Now before we finish, one final picture. Most people think prevention looks dramatic, but often prevention is quieter than that. It is a glass of water placed by the bed tonight. It is choosing not to lunge upright tomorrow. It is accepting that your heart deserves a calmer start than your younger self once needed. That is not weakness. That is intelligence. If you want, I cover low magnesium warning patterns in another video. The link is in the description. That video pairs very well with this one, especially if you take blood pressure medication. If this was useful, subscribe, because next I want to show you how to tell the difference between morning dizziness from blood pressure swings, dehydration, and rhythm instability. When you know the difference, you make better decisions faster. So tomorrow morning, do not give your heart a harsh start. Give it a softer landing. 90 seconds. Calm actions, better odds. That is often what real prevention looks like. Quiet, simple, repeatable, and powerful in exactly the way the body understands.